Let's see what's out there.
Hello and welcome to Home Media Minefield presents Let's See What's Out There, a weekly video stream and podcast currently focused on Star Trek Picard Season 3, which is available to watch on Paramount Plus or Amazon Prime. My name's Keith Isles, and as always, I am joined by
Pete Mealy.
And we are both film and television enthusiasts. And in today's episode, we are going to have a spoiler-filled conversation around Part 7, entitled Dominion. So you've been warned. How you doing, Pete?
I'm well. How are you?
Yeah, good. I like the fact that you've got your Enterprise bridge backdrop. That's very cool.
Yeah. Is it coming through okay? Sorry.
Mainly, apart from the odd glitch. But
you're seeing the glitchiness, of my basement. I apologize.
Unfortunately, all I've managed to do is a little bit of USS Titan lighting.
Yeah. I much prefer the bright lighting of the NCC 1701E or D.
There you
depending.
go. So, if you're new, it's the first time you found us, then welcome. Thank you for checking this out. If you find what we're talking about in any way interesting or informative, then please do give us one of those thumbs up, a like. Consider subscribing to the channel. It doesn't cost anything to do. And if you hit the bell icon, you'll get notified as and when various content drops. As I said, this one is obviously about Star Trek Picard. We also do shows that look at Star Wars The Mandalorian, which is also on its 3rd season at the moment. And I have just literally come off of a live stream where we talked about the Rocky and Creed franchise. So check all of that stuff out if that is of interest to you. Just to give you, we have a very sort of loose agenda with the show. We obviously, as I said, spoil this episode and any previous episodes. We talk about some of the behind the scenes. We have a bit of fun and look at some of the Easter eggs and connections and stuff. Then we'll put our speculation into play and we go into what we think, any nitpicks, and how we rank the episodes. So that's basically the main kind of agenda for this. Bit of Star Trek news in this past week. We have got a date for Strange New Worlds Season 2, which is going to be in June. So I'm really pleased about that. And obviously, if Pete's willing to do so, we will, of course, be covering every episode of Strange New Worlds. You're muted, Pete, at the moment.
We will be covering all of that.
Yes. So yeah, please, if that's your sort of thing and you like what we're doing with Picard this week, then we will use a similar format when it comes to Strange New Worlds. And we get a little break in between, it looks like, because, sadly, we've only got, 3 more episodes of Picard to come. And then, as I said, a break until June when Strange New Worlds hits Paramount Plus. So look forward to it.
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
Anyway, without further ado, it's time to engage.
The Titan is hiding in a junkyard, and the hours till Frontier Day are ticking down. And the changelings seem to have Tuvok as well as Riker. Jack wants to turn himself in so no one else dies, plus he's developed telepathy, like you do. Picard thinks they have a way out. The Shrike shows up, boards the Titan. The crew finds a way to trap all the baddies in force fields. We find out Vadic was a prisoner in the Daystrom Institute, and the experiments that Starfleet subjected her to are why she and her compatriots can mimic anyone down to their organs. But then Lore takes over the ship, flips the tables because he loves chaos, and allows Vadic to control the Titan. And we will have to find out next time what she intends to do.
Oh, very, very concise, to the point.
Yeah.
Like it. All right, so it's
Okay.
time to have a look at the behind the scenes this week as we make it so. Alrighty, so this week's episode was written by Jane Maggs, who we've talked about previously on other episodes, but this was directed by Deborah Kampmeier. Now, Deborah's previous work is in both film and television. In terms of directing, her work goes back as far as 2003. Where she directed the film Virgin and followed by Hound Dog, and then moved into television with Queen Sugar, Cherish the Day. She did 2 episodes of the Clarice TV series, which we've talked about, which was obviously also produced by Alex Kurtzman. And she has done 1 episode of Star Trek Discovery, as well as Tales of the Walking Dead and FBI International. So we're about to go into a run of 2 episodes of Picard, this one and next week's episode. So so some good credits there. And I believe that is everything. Hold on. Something else I wanted to check. Oh, yeah, she's American. I was just trying to check on her nationality. I wasn't sure if she was English or American, so I wanted to get that right before I started waving the flag, as you do.
Yeah.
I also wanted to give a shout this week to Frederick Weidman, who is the composer for this episode. There has been a change of composer sort of mid-season with this show. Obviously, we already mentioned the previous composer, but just looking at some of the credits here, composing credits, a lot of stuff on video games and archive material, but more notably when it comes to film, the Warming Up to You TV movie, 9 Years to Neptune, which was a TV series, Love on Fire TV movie, and then we've got more recently, we're coming up to Terramater TV series of 2023, Eureka, composer for 30 episodes of that television show, and then Star Trek Picard, which obviously we've currently got, well, it is this last 3 episodes that Frederick is credited for. Obviously, we've previously mentioned the other composer for the show. Jeff Russo is obviously responsible for the theme and the themes that we had, which carried over. But some of the other composing work has been done for this season by, sorry, I'm trying to find my old notes. I'm terrible. I've not done this well, have I? Series musics, yes. Stephen Barton did the first few episodes of this season, who we did credit previously. But as I said, I could not find the note. But there you go. So that is this week's behind the scenes.
Fantastic.
There you go. So I struggled there trying to find my old notes. So notes everywhere. What did I do with them?
Was Clarice the Hannibal spinoff?
Well, okay. So Clarice is an interesting one. Basically, the Hannibal Lecter franchise, which I'm a big fan of. The rights are split between different companies. So the Dino De Laurentiis company owns the Hannibal, which was the sequel to Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah.
Manhunter and Red Dragon, which was the prequel to Silence of the Lambs, and the film Hannibal Rising, which was like a sequel. That was a prequel to the whole series. and also the spin-off TV series Hannibal, which ran for, I think it was 3 seasons and starred Mads Mikkelsen. Yeah. However, the character of Clarice Starling and the events of Silence of the Lambs are owned by a different company. So this series focused on Clarice Starling following the events of Silence of the Lambs, but they couldn't mention Hannibal Lecter by name, and they couldn't use any of those other characters. Now, I have to say, I actually liked. We're totally off topic here, I know, but I actually liked Clarice because they did set it in the 90s, like literally a year after the events of the Lambs, and I thought that some of the more contemporary messages about feminism and racism and things of that nature fitted in to the show because of when it was set and the fact that it's obviously it centers around a female protagonist. The other thing that was quite nice from a procedural is this all took place sort of pre-internet, so they were having to fax information and use big chunky cell phones and all of that sort of stuff. So yeah, I actually thought it was quite a good show, but sadly it was cancelled after 1 season.
I might take a look at that.
Yeah, no, it is out there. Anyway, we got completely off topic, and that's something I could talk about. So if anybody wants a Thomas Harris, podcast or live stream, whatever, let us know. But in the meantime, I'm quite thirsty now, and I do actually have Earl Grey in my
excellent
today, and it is still
drinking seltzer.
Well, there you go. So anyway, tea, Earl Grey, hot. So Pete, just a bit of fun as always, but this is where we talk about the any Easter eggs, references, all of that kind of stuff. Have you got anything in particular with this episode that stood out to you?
Yeah, there's a couple of things, right? There's the Calto, which played a role in Voyager, especially 7 of 9 and Tuvok's relationship around that game. They mentioned the Dominion Cure, and I thought that was pretty interesting, the way they did that. Because in Deep Space Nine, it is like they break the rules to cure them. They break the Starfleet regulations, right? And send Odo to the Great Link to distribute the cure anyway. And I really like that. Yeah. Those were the 2 big ones that I noticed. How about you?
Yeah, okay, a few bits. I mean, first the obvious stuff. So yeah, of course, we've got Tim Russ reprising his role as Tuvok, now Captain Tuvok. Which, and it was good because remember last week when we were talking about in the sort of timeline continuity of where this takes place now at the beginning of the 25th century, which characters would still be alive in this time period. And of course, Tim Russ or Tuvok being a Vulcan, not Tim Russ, but Tuvok being a Vulcan, Tim Russ playing a Vulcan. Obviously, we saw that he had, was around as a young ensign back in the original movies time with Captain Sulu on the Enterprise B. Oh, sorry, on the Excelsior, not the Enterprise B. Sorry, the Excelsior. He was around then, and then of course he left Starfleet for some years to take the Kolinahr, which was originally set up in Star Trek: The Motion Picture, which is the purging of all remaining emotions, and obviously comes back, and then as part of Voyager's crew, he infiltrates the Maquis, and then becomes sent across the other side of the galaxy with Janeway and her crew, and it's great that he got to reprise a version of the character here. I hope the real Tuvok is fine, but I did kind of like the way 7 of 9, obviously tested him with, as you've rightly mentioned, the Calto, which they used to play. And for a minute there, he has her, and she thinks everything's fine, so fine that we hear the Voyager music play there for a moment. But then, of course, she tricks him with another question about, that references, things that they've done in previous episodes, etc. So finds him out to be a changeling, which is quite a shame. But you never know; we might get to see the real Tuvok somewhere down the line. One of the things, obviously, we see more of Data and Law, which I don't know why they're not calling him Data Law, like the episode. But he actually references the scimitar from the end of Nemesis as a memory,
right,
which would have been about 22 years prior to this. So I thought that was quite a nice little touch. Obviously, we get loads of Law stuff in there as well. I've put in there, it's a bit of a random picture, but I've put in there a picture on the bottom left of a tricorder. And the reason I did that is to remind me that one of the sound effects that they use when Vadic's team board the Titan, the tricorder sound effect is the same one that was used in Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, and Star Trek III, The Search for Spock. The same kind of sound effect used for that. So I thought that was quite cool, because obviously they've got lots of references back to the movies and whatever, which I like. What else did we get? I think that was about it. The picture I've got there on the bottom right, I tried to find, I couldn't find a better angle of it. I really wanted a picture of Geordie sort of face on, like we got in the episode, because I did like the fact that there was quite that moving bit with Geordie being Data's friend, and he wells up a little bit, and I did kind of like that, because I think last week I mentioned that I felt some of Geordie's character didn't feel kind of true to what we knew. But obviously I'm kind of eating my words a bit this week, because that was definitely the Geordie Data relationship that we remember. So but yeah, other than that, this didn't feel like a particularly Easter egg heavy episode, certainly not after the major one,
Daystrom Institute,
previous Daystrom Station,
Daystrom Station. Sorry, I keep doing that.
And so I didn't actually spot anything else, but I'm sure there's probably other stuff in there. So please let us know in the comments if we've missed anything obvious. Cool. Wow, we are whipping through it, aren't we? So
well, I think we got other stuff to talk about.
Fair enough. Are we whipping it through it so fast that you're seeing lights yet?
Yeah. That's the background I should have gotten. Oh, okay. There are 4 lights.
All right, so speculation time. Anything that you've got that might be interesting for this?
I mean, it's going to bleed over into the next segment, the stuff that I want to talk about. But I am not convinced that Vadic is really a changeling, or that and that they're not Breen. Can I say that? I think there might be still a switcheroo there, or a surprise. And that's because when she's talking to the head that comes out of her hand, it refers to Vadic as your kind. And so I think that means that there's 2 different entities at play there. Yeah.
Okay.
And then they are heavily hinting that Picard doesn't have Irumodic syndrome and that there's something else going on. You know, whether or not that's a good idea and a good storytelling, I don't know. But I think that they're going to yank that rug too. Yeah, that's what I think. How about you?
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, don't know. You know, the whole Jack Crusher thing continues to be, well, as it's supposed to be, a mystery box.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I don't know what's going on with him. I do realize that the showrunners are trying to put in as many sort of references and Easter eggs as possible, and I can't help but sort of go back to the fact that Jean-Luc Picard was, of course, captured by the Borg and had Borg implants that were removed, of course. But what did that do to his DNA? And is it possible that something could have got passed across to you know, Jack Crusher from his DNA? I don't know. It's a bit of a stretch. Don't really.
Oh, I like that.
Don't really know on that. Also, the other thing I thought of is, where else have we seen red eyes? And I can only kind of link that back to Deep Space Nine and oh god, I've come off another
Gold Ducat.
Yeah, but what's the
and the wraiths, the Pa wraiths?
Yeah, I can't. There was a name for it that's completely escaped me all of a sudden. No, it's gone. I can't think what it was called. Sorry, I've completely lost my train of thought. So I've
no worries. Pa wraiths, red lights.
Pa Wraith, was that what it was called?
Pa wraith. Yeah.
Yes, that's what I was thinking of. Again, that would link it to Deep Space Nine and some of the stuff that happened towards the end of that, you know, arc on Deep Space Nine. But again, that's me really stretching there because I don't really know, to be honest. So I don't really have any theories. Sorry.
Although if there was a Pa wraith, it would mean that, you know, we might be able to see Benjamin Sisko again.
Yeah, I mean, how likely that is, I don't know, but yeah, I don't know, because I know that they're trying to reference as much as they can and sort of shove everything in here. Whether or not that's an avenue they're going to go through, I don't know, but yes, sorry, I've come off of I've just literally come off of a 2-hour live stream about a completely different franchise. I'm trying to get back into my Star Trek groove, which
do you remember when Picard fought Ivan Drago?
Yes,
in that boxing match? It was amazing.
Indeed. Yes. Anyway, unless you've got any other theories, shall we draw a line and get into it?
Let's draw a line and get into it, because I have thoughts.
Fine. The line must be drawn here. Right.
Okay. So, going to start with my minor nitpicks and work into my greater faux pas. Right. So, minor nitpick number one: I hate that Raffi and Worf are missing from this episode entirely.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a real mistake, but all they do is name check them at one point. And I hated it. I mentioned the Vadic saying "you're kind," right? And I was like, oh, that might be something. That's weird to me. At the very beginning, they're doing the like a vocal lie detector on Tuvok to try to analyze voice patterns, and that seemed really dumb to me and just a waste of time. You know, like I was like, what is the point of this? except somebody wanted to do that kind of scene where somebody says something and then they look back and like Sneakers. Did you ever see that movie? Anyway,
Yeah.
Beverly Crusher has this sort of attitude with Vatic when she's interrogating her that just didn't ring quite true for me. I just didn't. I don't know. It just felt off. Um, and then I'm jumping all over, but the whole Picard having a unidentified mass in his body and Irumodic syndrome being the diagnosis being in question, I was like, well, this is like it feels like the wrong step. You know, they're it feels like they're trying to shoehorn in a certain plot device, whatever it may be, and so they're hijacking Picard's physical well-being history that we're all super familiar with, and like you're getting into some pretty risky territory there, considering it's supposed to be a synthetic body that you set up in season one. So I can, while it annoys me that they might throw away stuff that was set up in Next Generation and the movies, if they're going to throw away stuff that they set up in their own series, it's bad writing and unforgivable for me. So yeah.
All right, we have to wait and see on that. To be fair, I mean, we still got
I suppose,
three more episodes to go, but I felt that Raffi and Worf were missed here. Also, we didn't see Riker and Troy. I mean, we saw a changeling pretending to be Riker, but we didn't actually see Riker or Troy, which was, of course, was the cliffhanger, if you like, of the previous episode. This was very much a bottle episode. It all took place just on the Titan. It did feel like it might be one of the episodes that's trying to save a bit of money from the budget. But it did those are the negatives, but there was a lot of positive as well. I really liked the fact that we got this Vadic's backstory sorted, and I do like that. I like the fact that the form she's taken is the very form of the
tormentor,
the human that tortured her, tormented her, experimented on her. Obviously, I'm guessing the scars are kind of a residual of the torture that was done to her. But it did explain why, like Vadic looks the way she does and doesn't just look like most of the changelings that we've seen that, have that sort of Odo smoothed out face kind of look. So I did like that. Still don't know what's going on with the whoever it is that she's communicating with. That's still obviously a big mystery box there, that's along with the Jack Crusher thing, which is to be solved. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, I enjoyed it. There were some silly bits, the sort of running around the Titan with the force fields, whereas on one hand it was good. Some of the fighting stuff was a bit silly. I did sort of think to myself, obviously the title Dominion refers to, the Dominion from the past, but also I did sort of think when Jack took over Sydney's body to help her fight, I thought, oh, he's kind of dominating her. It's Dominion. He has dominion over her. I don't know whether I was reading too much into that, but yeah, it's interesting. It's funny actually, because I said last week that I was invited onto a couple of streams that I didn't go on. Well, this week I did go on both those streams. I will put in the show notes to them. So that was the Spacebook and Rabbi from Another Planet, both of which were kind enough to invite me on to talk about Picard in those sessions. But it's weird because I almost feel like I've kind of said everything, and I'm struggling now to sort of either repeat what I've already said or try and say something new. So it's quite interesting that I followed my instinct the week before. So
No, it's fine. I think I don't know, the Vatic thing didn't really resonate with me so much. Um, I think maybe because the Crusher points out that she's not sweating, she's not in trouble, and everything she's saying she wants them to know, and so we don't know how much of it is actually true,
mhm.
and how much is misdirection on the character's part. And so I don't know. Yeah, I didn't love it. I'll be honest. My whole thinking was that this episode felt like some of the previous seasons have had episodes like this where uh, it's a weird mix of too much to do but not enough to do, and so you get these. When I look back on it, I'm like, well, what happened? Kind of nothing, but kind of a lot. And
Mhm.
so it's a really weird balance where they're they basically in the same situation as they were at the start of the episode, except there's been changes that could be pretty major, but I don't know that we get any of the emotional um fervor, or it didn't grab me emotionally like some of the other storylines did.
Mhm.
So when Vedic took over the ship, I was just sort of like, sure, okay. Lore, causing chaos and taking over the ship was like, oh, this storyline again? I mean, how many times did we do that in Next Generation, right? Like, uh, and you still haven't learned how to protect against that because it feels pretty basic to me. And so I mean, I'll admit, uh, the whole season three as a whole has had a lot of great stuff in it. But then when it came to this episode, I feel like this is a prime example of what they're doing wrong, right? Like the pacing is muddled, the storytelling is muddled, and um, it's frustrating because it's got some real kernels of greatness in there that they could have uh, spent more time on and spent more time working on that stuff, and then it would have been a show that would just have me at the edge of my seat and tearing my hair out at the end of each episode. But
Mhm. Yeah,
instead
no,
we
I,
get
I
this.
I get you. It kind of this one lacked a little bit of the wow factor that some of the other, and I'm not talking about member berries or fan service here. I'm talking about just um, revelations and action and all of that sort of stuff. It was a bit more, well, literally contained.
Yeah.
This one. What was I going to say? Okay, bear with me here. I get a bit obsessed about details and
Hmm.
like everything we see on screen is for a reason and matters and all of this sort of thing. One thing that's kind of bugging me, and I don't quite understand why they've done that, is I don't know whether you've noticed this, but the phaser prop that Jack Crusher is using is like an original series style phaser, which is very different to the 25th century
Two
phasers that the
phases.
rest of them are using. And I don't know. I don't know if there's any importance to that at all, but it distracts me because I notice it every time. It happened first in the sort of visions that he had a few episodes back,
Yeah.
but now in the actual reality of what's going on in the thing, he's got a different phaser, more of an old school phaser than everyone else. And I don't
Hmm.
know, it might be absolutely nothing, but it kind of distracts me every time. And I'm
Hmm.
like, what the, what's that about? But
It
I
will
don't,
probably be nothing, but
yeah.
yeah, I have not noticed that. I will have to try and watch that episode again.
Yeah,
and see it.
maybe the
Yeah.
prop master just had a few different phases, and Ed Spieler's just said, "Oh yeah, I want that one." It might be something
Or
simple as that, but yeah, I don't know.
it could just be as simple as them saying like, it's going to be so dark, no one's going to be able to see the weapons anyway.
Yes. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I was hoping we'd learn. I mean, I hope it's not literally the last episode where we find everything out. I'm hoping some of these mysteries. I mean, to be fair to them, we had some of the mystery behind Vadok revealed in this episode. So
Yeah.
to be fair, they have, because we didn't even know who the hell she was for ages.
Yeah.
Now we know A, that she's a changeling, but B, she was part of the modified change. In fact, she's a product of the very people that she's now attacking,
Yeah.
quite literally. And in terms of thematics, I do kind of like that in terms of, rather than Vadok just being a villain, Vadok is a true antagonist that has her reason, and she thinks she's right.
Yeah.
She's doing all this crazy, dastardly stuff. Yeah. And when you think about, when you actually look back on it, that was quite awful, which again, Section 31 doesn't seem to be as covert as it was originally meant to be.
Yeah.
In the sort of Kurtzman era of Trek. But yeah, obviously that's where she was being experimented on. She was being weaponized, much in the same way as they dealt with in Deep Space Nine previously. So, and obviously it's an evolved form of changeling because of that experimentation. Yeah.
Wasn't part of the whole problem in Deep Space Nine that they wanted to use Odo to test stuff because they didn't have any other changeling subjects that they could use?
Yeah.
And so that also kind of annoyed me, that now they secretly had 10 changelings in a lab somewhere. Right? Like, I was like, well, that feels like a change, and I don't know that I love it.
I mean, I really, one of the things I did like that this episode handled is the moral dilemma. The Beverly saying, she's not sure where
whether it's right.
The ethics behind it.
But did they really handle
that's
it?
very much a Star Trek thing, isn't it? Let's be honest. That's very Star Trek.
And I think that's it's an interesting Star Trek question. But I feel like what they did in this episode was hint at the question and then just ignore it for the rest of the episode. And it annoyed me. It felt like that Marvel's Eternal movie where they kept hinting at broad thematic important questions and then ignoring the question, right? Like yeah, I mean, I guess we have to give them their next 3 episodes before we really make a judgment call, and I get too angry about this. But it just felt like the pacing was off and they didn't really engage, and I thought they could have done better.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm still enjoying it. I mean, the 2 streams that I was on at the weekend, everybody on those was absolutely waxing lyrical about this.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Obviously I've had a bit of time to reflect since then. Obviously we're a little bit late in getting this out this week compared to previous weeks. Because sometimes I like the immediacy of me, not being influenced by anything else and saying exactly what I think about an episode, And I enjoyed it. This one just felt a bit paddy like a little bit like it was treading
Irish?
water. A
Oh,
bit,
yeah,
sorry,
yeah.
not Irish, like padding. Sorry, yeah, paddy. Not diving or Irish. But yes, and but yeah, it lacked a little bit of the wow factor, I think. But then
Yeah,
again,
it really did.
that is hard to sustain for every episode, particularly when you're doing the sort of more serialized storytelling as this is doing. So
It's hard. I get it. It's hard. I also think this is, everyone knows, the last Star Trek with Picard in it, right? Like, there will be no more. Spend the time, you know?
mhm.
Do it right. I don't know. That's I'm very hard on this episode this week.
You are, yeah,
I
yeah. It's kind
I
of
was very disappointed, I guess,
right.
because last week and the week before I was really turning around on it. And I think in this week I see the thematic flaws that really got me angry and that I hated in seasons 1 and 2. And I can see those creeping in here, and so it just makes me mad that yet again, like season 1, they came so close to something good, um, but they're not able to uh, uh, do each beat well. You know,
Yeah, I mean, I
they're
trust
half-assing parts of it.
I trust Terry Matalis, the showrunner here. I think I do honestly believe that he is a true Star Trek fan.
Yeah,
Simply because of the amount of references and fan service that we get, but also I feel that they are leading up to telling a really compelling story here. I mean, I do think, as we discussed in sort of tedium, I guess last week, is we know that there are a number of older Starfleet vessels that are not connected to any sort of network available at the Starfleet Museum. Okay, so we know that there's that. We know that the clock is ticking. In fact, that was a bit of a criticism. We know that this Frontier Day is literally hours away, yet they did seem to
yeah.
waste a little bit of time in this episode, getting to it, bearing in mind that that's coming. I'm still wondering if, the end of this, we're going to see a lot of recognizable starships filled with a lot of recognizable faces.
That would be nice.
Yeah,
that would be nice.
I just think that they're trying to give this. I've heard in interviews the cast kind of referring to this as Star Trek Season 8 or Star Trek: The Next Generation Season 8.
Season
8. To give it a proper send off that not even the movies did.
It had a good send off in season 7, but okay.
Well, yeah, I mean, All Good Things is, high watermark.
The best, yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I'm the best thing. They started off strong with this episode because the best thing about this episode was seeing Tim Russ as Tuvok, even though it turned out it wasn't Tuvok. But that was kind of cool. But yeah, I mean, references and Easter eggs are one thing, but telling a good story is the important bit. And I did feel that we did get to the crux of a very Star Trek matter here with the moral dilemma about what Beverly's going to do about this.
But what's the resolution
of the sun?
What's the resolution? Oh, that was one that I thought was a miss. When Vadic is changes into Jack and then says you might lose another son and then starts to change. I thought it was going to be Will Wheaton.
Yeah, I'm surprised it wasn't,
frankly. So am I. He would have done it.
I mean, he did the last season, didn't he? So,
Yeah.
I think he still interviews them all for the. We don't get it here in the UK, but what is it? Not the
After track.
It's not called that now, is it? Is it the Ready Room?
Oh, you're right. It's called the Ready Room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm surprised, but yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm still wondering whether we're going to see Soji as well.
Oh yeah.
Because yes, they're trying to tie all the sort of old Trek into this, with having all of the next gen members and that. But I just wonder whether they've obviously had a few of the characters mentioned from other seasons of Picard, and I just wonder whether we might, get like, although Soji is off with Wesley, but there you go. That could be the way of doing it, right?
Yeah.
Possibly, but I don't know. I'm still excited, like I always am, for these every week.
Yeah.
But I wish I had something a bit more compelling to discuss with this one. I just feel that
that's all right.
That's it, really.
No, that's what it is this week. I think it fits. It's a bit of a holding pattern, right? And we don't know exactly what's going on. And so, it's reflected in our recap this week.
And not so many Easter eggs to, agonize over this week like there was last week.
Exactly.
Etc. So okay, so back to the important bit then, the ranking system that we've been using. Where would you put this week's?
You ready for this? Ensign. I hated it.
Oh really? Oh my god, you really did hate it.
I hated it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to go with a lieutenant commander for this one, so it's just sort of.
I think you were being so kind.
Well, most of mine have been captain or commander, haven't they?
Yeah.
But yeah, this one wasn't quite as good. I do sort of feel it's the calm before the storm, though, in some respects. So, as I said, I still have confidence in the team here that are making this.
Okay.
I just hope I don't get let down by that. But I think there's going to be a lot more. I think we're going to have a lot more sort of surprises in terms of characters that we're going to see that they've managed to keep the lid on.
They did name check Janeway again.
They did. Yeah.
All right.
Imagine Admiral Janeway in command of the Voyager.
I'd love it.
And of course, obviously, I'm hoping that our main 7 are all going to get together, on the ship. It's that's inevitable, I think, isn't it? But
they're only missing Worf, Data, or they're only missing Worf, Riker, and Troy, right?
Yeah. But my money is on Enterprise F, because they've had announcements about that on view screens when they've been scrolling for information that the Enterprise F is due to be decommissioned. And I'm just wondering whether it's just because it's one thing that they're on the Titan, but this crew at the end to do their final thing on the Enterprise is
what it should be.
That brings it home, doesn't it? So I've been saying this since the start, and I'm going to stick by it. I'm pretty certain we're going to get Enterprise F.
Good.
In this.
Good. Let's see.
For the end of this, hopefully in the next episode.
Yeah.
Let's hope it's not just left to the last episode, after 2 or something. But cool. All right. Have you got anything else to add? Then? We've actually been shorter than normal here.
Sorry, I'm just going to check my notes again. I think not. Yeah. No. Okay.
No. All right. So time to open a channel.
Okay, so this is let's see what's out there as a podcast. You can contact us directly at lswotcast@gmail.com, or you can follow lswotcast on all good social media applications. I've been Pete Neely. You can find me on Twitter at Too Many E's. Keith, where can people find more of you and your work?
Yeah, sure. As I said, please, if you're here, consider subscribing, liking, all of that good stuff. There is other Star Trek content on here, including a look at some of the home media releases. So please check out the work on here. I also have another channel, British Isles, which is EYLES, that's in my last name. And there's some short films there known as the Urban Chiller Tales, which I really love it if you could check some of that out. And just a quick shout out to Neil Myers, who does our theme music. Neil's work can be found at neilmyersmusic.com. And William McLaughlin, who did our logo for this, and his work can be found on social media at wasm_official. That's WASM. So yeah, Pete, that just leaves me to say thank you for joining us from the bridge of your galaxy class.
Thank you, Keith, for having me here.
No worries. And we shall see you next time on
Let's See What's Out There.
Bye for now.